Hey everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Look who's here. Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa, what's
Hi.
going on? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. I put on some makeup, so I feel like a new person. It's weird. I still have my leggings on and my comfy socks, but otherwise,
That's the way to go. Yeah, my wife is totally all about the comfy look. I've been wearing jeans way too much. I gotta wear sweats more. Like I don't know what I'm doing right now.
on my birthday, my birthday was on Saturday, so I wore jeans on my birthday, and I was like, they were a little snug, but I was like, I feel like I'm dressed up. Whereas jeans, are not really dressed up, but at some point now it's like, this feels dressy. Like putting on a piece of jewelry feels dressy.
So what was a quarantine birthday like for you?
It was actually really special. I've been doing a lot of birthday messages. I've been doing these Cameo videos. So you can go to Cameo and get videos from celebrities. And I've been donating all the money I've made since March 12th to charities. So it's been really nice because I've been doing all these great videos for people, tons of birthday messages and whatnot, helping people get engaged, or anniversary messages, or messages for people that just need a pep talk. And then I'm able to take that money and donate it to all these wonderful charities that I want to support. So it's been really fun. But because of that, doing those messages, I was telling other people how to enjoy their birthdays. So I took some of that advice on myself. And my girlfriends dropped off like cupcakes at the front door. We did a Zoom chat with one group of friends, a Zoom chat with my family, a Zoom chat with another. Like we did the house party app. And then I actually did take a little walk around the neighborhood with a few of my friends. They came out, we social distanced, but we just kind of did a little toast, and that was it. We went out to the lookout to Tahoe and kind of did a little toast, and it was so special. I just felt really loved. It was a lot of messages, a lot of love, a lot of hanging out with people. My kids were really on their best behavior. My husband made it special. I have about 7 cakes. Like Netflix sent me a cake. Everybody sent cakes. I have so many cakes. I had to freeze some. I got some in the fridge. I'm trying to get through them all. I'm going to gain like 30 pounds this week.
Well, it puts it all in perspective, like what actually matters on a birthday. It's not like going out. It's people that love you, people care about you. That's all we really need.
And I just felt really special that day. The amount of Instagram people, my friends, I started scrolling through Instagram in the evening, and all of a sudden it was like message after message about me, and people were writing about me and all my friends. And it was like, I don't know, it just felt like I was just being showered with love. And that's exactly what you want on your birthday, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Cameo thing, how long have you been doing that? Because I've seen some really funny ones where it's like ridiculous messages you have to give. Like, what are some of the crazy stories you have with it so far?
I try not to get too crazy. Someone wanted me to like smoke on camera or something.
God.
They're like, "Can you smoke a cigarette while you talk to me?" I'm like, "No."
That's just weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like weird, somebody wanted me to do like a shout out for, or not a shout out, a kind of bashing landlords right now that want to collect rent and stuff like that. And I was like, I'll do a message, but it's going to be positive. It's not going to be like a political hit you over the head message. So a lot of my favorite one has been, I think there's been a few engagements, but one in particular where he had a whole script written out for me and wanted me to say something about like, he really loves you. He thinks you're so special. Da, 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 now turn around. And then he was supposed to be on his knee with a ring. Like, so it was cool. Really fun to do that. Yeah. A lot of men like to send messages through me to their wives, which I think is really special. Cause I know like men are terrible communicators. My husband's terrible. Like I hear from his sister will call me and be like, "Oh, he said you looked really pretty last night." I'm like, "What? Why didn't he tell me that?" So a lot of the time I get to do these messages where the husband's like, "She's amazing. She's the most amazing mother. And she just brings a smile to my face every day." And I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy. This is great."
So what's it been like for you to kind of be in people's lives in all these different chapters from like now to, going all the way back to the beginning? What's the ride been like?
That the thing I hear the most from people out on the street or Comic-Cons and whatnot is, "I grew up with you." And it's just such a nice compliment. It's a nice thing to hear. And I've heard it so much that at first I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool." And then it started to really grow on me that all these people think they grew up with me, and or they did grow up with me. Maybe I didn't grow up with them, but they grew up with me. And it's such a nice compliment to think you were in someone's living room. It's very personal, I think, even though it's distant for me because I don't know these people. So I always try to just remember that like people don't, that they think they know me, but I don't know that. Like I've done it to people before. I've, gone up to celebrities or famous people, or embarrassingly, like once one of the Bachelorette candidates or whatever, and was like, and I was like, "Don't I know you?" So I get that response. I get, why people have that familiarity, and it's so lovely. And I've really grown to love that response, and that when people say that, because for a while there it was just like, "Oh, you're that witch," or it was like, "You're that girl that tells it all," or whatever. People would always mess up that name. But And then all of a sudden it just became like, I grew up with you. And that was just such a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling.
So how long did it go that, oh, hey, there's Sabrina the Teenage Witch, to like, oh, okay, I grew up with you? Like, how long did each of those
You know,
last?
it's funny. I think it was around the time I did Dancing with the Stars, which was in 2009. I was in, I think it was their 9th season. And I was all of a sudden being recognized on the street as my name. It was like one of the first times I really recognized the fact that people were calling me Melissa as opposed to Sabrina or Clarissa or something like that, you know? So, and then I did a show, Melissa and Joey, which I think then helped people really know my name. So, you know, then it was a lot more Melissa kind of stuff. And that sort of, and then by the time I had the 3rd show on the air, like a 3rd title character, people just felt like they really knew me, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure that kind of messes with your identity though. Like you're answering to 3 names, it seems like at one point, right? Like that's pretty wild.
Well, it's funny when like somebody you're supposed to be, you know, that's like a good friend of yours, or really it's like your friend's husband or whatever, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, Sabrina, can you grab me that?" Oh, I mean, sorry, you know, and I just laugh about it now. But
So you kind of did this whole thing from a really young age. You're doing commercials, you're in these different shows. Like when did it really feel like this was going to be your career? Like this is your own thing?
oh gosh, you know, I had a real kind of eye-opening moment in my teen years. I really wanted to go to college. It was really important for me to go to college. My mom went to college, but my dad didn't, and it was a big deal that my mom went to college, and so I was always going to go to college. And then Clarissa ended when I was 17, and I was accepted into NYU, and I was going to go, and then I got a movie deal to go down to Florida and do a TV movie. It was called Family Reunion: A Relative Nightmare. And it was the first time I was going to be an adult too. I was going to be 18, and I would be able to be on my own on the set without tutors, without schooling, and just be a part of a set and do what I wanted on my time off. And it was really appealing. And I was afraid if I didn't take the job, plus it was a lot of money, it would have paid for my tuition for the year. If I didn't take the job, would I ever act again? Is this my only chance? What about college? It was like one of these moments, this huge crossroads for me. And I decided to take the job because I was like, okay, I can go back to school and I'll go to school in January, but I'm definitely going to school in January. And so then I did go to school in January. And then I think by that fall, I had to move to LA to do Sabrina. So it was sort of always a snowball effect of things. I was always, and I still am, looking for my other career, something that's a backup, because this isn't a great business to kind of acting wise, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm doing directing more, it's a little bit more stable, but acting wise, you know, it's ups and downs, and you never know, you know, you end one show, you might not have a show for 10 years. So it's, you know, it can be a really tough life if you don't have sort of a fallback. So I've always looked for a fallback career, and I've never been able to really lock one down. I honestly am like still looking. I'm starting to play the piano. Maybe I'll be a musician. I don't know. But now that I'm directing, it's actually kind of giving me a little stability in the business where I feel like I can work like a regular person, like work constantly.
Yeah, you hit a lot of different things there. So you just did one semester of college. Like, what were the best memories of that?
So I did like one real semester of college, lived in the dorms, you know, took like, I guess like 16 credits at a time or whatever the regular was, 16, 20, something like that. But then that summer, I think I did like, no, it wasn't that summer. I did the summer abroad. The next fall I did go again, but I think I took 8 credits because I thought I was going to be doing a Sabrina movie in Vancouver. Did the Sabrina movie the next January, actually. I did the Sabrina movie, so I had to take a little bit off of that semester, but I still went, but only 8 credits also. Then that summer I did like a summer abroad, and then by the end of that summer I was moving to LA. And I kept doing like distance learning, like what people are doing now. Yeah. But back then on those little computers with the AOL startup and the sound and all that stuff, right? Yeah, printing it out with the little tabs on the side and having to pull the tabs off. Yeah, so I went to school off and on for 7 years, but never graduated. I only got like 45 credits or something stupid like that.
Yeah, but it just goes to show what it's like to try and balance school with the industry. And you also hit on the fact that it's just like, it's constantly up and down. So you were on a couple different hit shows. When do you realize like, oh crap, like I could have something be big for one stretch and then I may have nothing? Like when do you finally realize?
I knew it right away. I mean, I knew it just from my childhood, doing a ton of commercials. Commercials was always really good work. As an actor, commercials are great work. You get residuals every time it's on TV. You get, you know, it might be 10 cents, but after it shows 100 times, that's, you know, it's a nice check to get after you've already been paid for the work. so commercials were a big deal. But then I did a lot of Broadway, and I did a lot of like guest starring on soap operas, or I was on the TV show The Equalizer. I was in the movie Crocodile Dundee, like little parts here. You didn't see me in Crocodile Dundee. I got cut out. But it's like lots of little pieces and lots of little things. And so I always knew that, like, you know, I might go 6 months with no job, and then I might do 3 commercials in a weekend, you know? So it was always like that. And I watched other people do that too. And I knew that that's the way it went. I was a big fan of Shirley Temple and Audrey Hepburn, and I watched their careers, and Tina Turner, and, you know, just kind of watched how people maneuvered in the business, and knew that it was never it's just not a stable business.
So you said that people come up to you and said, hey, we grew up with you. So what was your childhood like? Because you're doing all these different shows, you're bouncing around. What are the things you like to tell people about with that story?
So the thing is, yeah, I mean, my childhood was probably a little abnormal, but it was what I knew. So it wasn't weird for me. I mean, I was still active in Girl Scouts. I wanted to be a dancer. So I was dancing 6 days a week if I could. But there were a lot of times, especially through like elementary school, that my mom would come, you know, to the school. I would get a call or a note down or whatever, and I'd have to go to the office, and I'd have to get in the car and drive into New York City, which was about an hour and a half away, do an audition, 5-minute audition, turn around, drive home, you know, or there'd be a day when my mom would load all the kids in the car and we'd all go do audition, you know. So there was about once a week that we would all go to the city for like a day. And then there were 1 or 2 other days of the week that I would probably be pulled out of class or go to class late because I had to go to the city and do an audition. But to me, that was, you know, I mean, I tried to think about it years ago. You know, if you were a gymnast or a serious athlete at a young age, like I actually ended up going for 1 year to a private school in Manhattan that was for professional children. It was called Professional Children's School. So it was like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Macaulay Culkin, Jerry O'Connell, like all these people that you would know. And the idea behind it, but there were tons of ballerinas. There was a girl who was running a toy store, kind of like Big. She was like the CEO of a toy company. So there were all these different people that were, and I was like, that's, you know, if I was a serious dancer, a serious athlete, want to be a gymnast or whatever, even Tiger Woods, golfing, like, you know, to be pulled out of school to have to do the thing that you have to do to make that career happen. I don't think it was odd because nobody else was doing it. Everyone's like, oh, you're driving around in a limo. You know, the kids were like, why have I not seen you? You're not that famous, or you used to be on commercials, but you're not famous. I got told once in 7th grade, you're not famous anymore. You used to be when you did Rice Krispies commercials.
Ouch.
But meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not. I was like, he's right. Or he called me a has-been. We were in French class. I think his name was Carl. And he was like, you're a has-been. And I was like, I'm a has-been. I was like, wait, yeah, I guess I am, because they don't know that I've been working. But meanwhile, I'm doing a Broadway show with William Hurt, Lois Smith, Callista Flockhart, like written by, you know, like directed by one of the biggest producers directors on Broadway, but nobody knows it. So, you know, I a has-been, you know, so I went through all these like, ooh, maybe I'm not doing anything, or does it matter? Do I want to be famous? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's really interesting because TV is so powerful, and also social media is. Have you thought about what it would have been like with social media in the 90s?
Oh my gosh, I would have been in so much trouble. You would know so much more about me that you shouldn't know, because I would have told you stupidly. You know, I saw this one great thing that a mom posted about that she made her teenage daughter read her diary from her teenage years. And when it was over, the daughter was like, that was stupid. You sound like an idiot. She's like, yeah, that's what you sound like on social media. So take a lesson, you know, like, so I just feel like I really dodged a bullet there, because I probably would have thought everything I had to say was the smartest, funniest, you know, coolest, whatever. And I probably would have gotten myself in a little trouble. Although I was pretty much a good girl, as most people assume. I wrote a book about, you know, and I've got my missteps in there as well. The times that I partied too hard, or the times I did things I shouldn't have done. But to me, it was always a calculated, like the first time I ever got really, really, really drunk was my 21st birthday, because I planned it that way. You know, like I always was very careful, because I knew I had 100 people waiting for me on set to know my lines and hit my marks. And if I didn't do that, they would all judge me, watch me, would I ever get a job again, that kind of thing. So I felt very pressured I was just responsible, I guess. So it was like, okay, I can go out and have 1 gin and tonic at night and dance while I'm 22 years old and still make it to work at 6:30 in the morning and know my lines. But I can't have 2 gin and tonics, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, you knew where to cut it off, but there's also a lot of responsibility. Like, you're young and in your 20s, but you're the lead of the show. You have to set the tempo, and you know, you're ripping these episodes out for a really long time. So,
and we're working like 14-hour days.
It's crazy.
And then all I wanted to do was go out dancing at night.
No, you couldn't hang with that. Have your kids seen your old stuff?
little bit. I recently showed my 7-year-old the pancake episode of Sabrina because I was trying to explain sugar addiction and trying to get him to eat healthier. And he's like, but all I want is M&Ms or whatever, right? And I was like, well, that's because that's all you had. Like so I tried to explain sugar addiction. I was like, let's watch an episode of Sabrina. So I used it as a learning tool.
There you go. So we haven't gotten to the Britney Spears music video yet. That's a little bit later down the road.
No, I don't think they know about that. I did show them when their dad was on Sabrina. So when I first met my husband, I had his band Course of Nature come on Sabrina. It was the beginning of, it might have been the first episode of season 7. No, maybe it wasn't the first. But anyway, it was the Total Request Live, what do we call it? Total Sabrina Live episode. And my husband's in it. And so I showed them that. And of course they think it's hilarious. They watch their dad because he rolls his eyes at me over and over again on the show, which is what he does in real life. So it's kind of telling of our future.
What do you think was the biggest impact of the show when you think about Sabrina?
Well, what's amazing to me is 2 things. It was a franchise, so it like went out into, cartoons and books and like merchandise and whatnot. But also it was so international. Like people all over the world loved it. I get people like in Latin America, it's a huge deal. In the UK, in Australia, it's like it was really enormous all over Eastern Europe, huge in Germany. They say I'm second to David Hasselhoff over there. But it's, I think that the kind of humor we had in there translates across all that. Sometimes some humor doesn't really cross borders, but I think our humor was very international. I think people love the idea of magic. I just think that magic, if you watch Bewitched or you watch I Dream of Jeannie, just the idea that someone's, dream fulfillment stuff, that kind of thing. And we had amazing guest stars from all over the world, all different generations. So even if your kids are watching it, all of a sudden there's Blondie, or there's the Violent Femmes, or there's Davy Jones from the Monkees. It's like, or there's NSYNC, or we really had some amazing guests. We had incredible music. My mom was a producer, and she picked some great music, which now is not a part of the show anymore because it was only purchased for a few viewings, and then it all had to be changed, which is why it took it so long to go out on DVD. All the music had to be changed. But in the beginning, we had some of the best music. We had really good special effects. If you look back at it now, it's not so great. But the special effects supervisor went on to do Game of Thrones. He's a producer on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and because for that time, too, it was incredible what you guys were doing.
What we were able to do. And in television, on an everyday basis.
Definitely. So you mentioned directing before. When does that start for you? Because you did a couple of the Sabrina episodes, right?
I did. So I started with Sabrina. I was very bossy. I had taken everything in over my years. When I was on Clarissa, I really paid attention to everything the directors did, paid attention to the cameras and the lighting and the sound and everything. And then on Sabrina, really started to hone in on it because our days were so long, and we'd have these really seasoned directors come and sit on our set and say, how do we do the cat? How do we do this? And I'd have to explain it, or the cast would explain it. And I realized I should just do this. And then my mother, being my executive producer, threw me my DGA card and said, here, we got you your DGA card. You're directing the next one. And I was like, what? So thank God she did that, because who knows if I would have ever, actually taken that leap. But I got to direct, I think I directed about 7 over the years. It was really hard to be in front of the camera and behind the camera. And then for a while there, well, I did direct like some Disney Channel shows and some Nickelodeon shows, some multicam, some single cam. And then the only opportunities I could really get were directing Lifetime movies, which I would put hand in hand with I get to do a movie and I get to direct a movie. So it was the only way, or they want me in the movie, which was the only way I could direct it. So I had to use that leverage for a little while of, okay, I'll be in it, but you have to let me direct it. But now there is such a call for female directors, and I have time right now because my Netflix show last year ended, No Good Nick, and the Goldbergs wanted me to direct an episode. And after the Goldbergs episode, all of a sudden then it was Young Sheldon, and then it was their show Schooled, and then there's been a few new Netflix shows like The Big Show, and there's another one coming, it just came out, The Expanding Universe of Ashley Garcia. And as soon as we open up again, the world opens up again, I'll be able to be directing, I'm going to be directing a Christmas movie for Lifetime immediately, and then hopefully going on to do an episode of Punky Brewster, new show for Peacock. Nice. So it's been really it's been like this nice snowball effect now all of a sudden, and it's really due to this initiative in Hollywood where they need more female directors. So they have, certain TV shows have to hire a certain amount of females, and there just still are not that many female directors in the industry. And so you know, it's opening the door for us to be able to direct more. But then once you get in there, you got proof that you know what you're doing. And luckily I've been like a little bit of a favorite on some of these sets that I've graced. So it's been really fun.
That's great. And the other thing is, like, there's so many different places where TV's going on right now, so many different platforms. It's like you can jump from one show to the next,
Yeah.
whereas that wasn't possible, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago in the same way.
Well, I always do find it kind of strange that, like, especially sitcoms, well, almost every show, there's very few shows that have live-in directors. There's most shows, it's like a different director every single week, which I think is so funny because especially when you're new on a show, especially like I did the 5th season of Goldberg's, you're stepping on a show. You don't really know that well. You don't know anybody. You don't know. I'm trying to learn names. I'm trying to figure out their tone. I'm trying to figure out what the producers want exactly. And then you get in the groove of it and your episode's done. So I'm like, can I just do like 2 or 3 in a row? It would just be great to keep going. But yeah, it's really fun to be able to jump platforms. I've been doing multicam as well as single cam, which a lot of people don't get that opportunity. And I think I have a really good rapport with like actors. Obviously, I know how to work with actors because I've done it for years. I adore the crews that, you know, they're your backbone. They're the ones that are covering your butt when you mess up. So if you really lean on them and depend on them and trust them, everybody gets the job done and everybody has a good product and goes home, you know? So that's always my goal is like, let's do this work. Let's focus, let's get it done, but let's have fun while we do it.
Definitely. So when you think about your journey, what do you think have been the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome, you know, throughout all these different chapters?
Oh, there's so many, you know, for a while there, it was like, do you want to be a movie star? How do you become go from a TV star to a movie star? And, you know, trying to navigate that for a little while. And then what I realized was, a lot of my friends that do episodic work or more procedural dramas, they move on to movies. So maybe I should do some of that. So then I got on SVU and I had a horrible time. And I was like, I cannot live like this, like constantly thinking about being raped and murdered and like all this awful stuff that's going through my head and this awful place I had to live for just this one episode for 9 days. And they did it for 9 years. And now like 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to quit or I'm going back to comedy. And so then I was like, all right, I'm back to comedy. That's it. This is where I belong. I want to make people laugh. I don't want to do this serious stuff. It's too, it tears you apart. So, to try to like, cause you have to take on all those emotions and you have to take that, you have to embody that pain and what those people, you know, what people go through in life that's so tragic. And it's like, I can't do that. So not every day and live a normal life. So I was like, I went back to comedy and that's when I did Melissa and Joey. And then I did No Good Nick for Netflix last year. And then ever since then, I've just been like all last year, I directed a ton. So not a lot of people saw my face, but I was really busy and it was really awesome. And I hope to be able to do a bunch more this year, although I am going to take a little step back and try to raise my family.
Good deal. Well, Melissa, great catching up with you. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank
and we'll
you.
talk to you down the road, all right?
Yeah, all right. You stay safe.